Hi friends, welcome to reacting to New York Fashion Week's knits and crochets part 3. Basically, the fashion weeks happened in September, October, and I like to go through all the brands in all the major cities, so New York, London, Milan, and Paris, and look at all of the runways, but just focus on the knits and crochets and fiber arts, things that I think that inspire me to make something that I look at and I'm like, wow, these brands are probably very expensive and are showing their art in this manner, like in a fashion week, which a lot of people go to and watch. And I like to think, maybe I could do that, or maybe I could do something similar to that, or that inspires me to make something along those lines. And I like to do that with you all so that maybe you guys have some opinions or get inspired to make something like this, make some samples, try out some techniques that I see on the runways, and that is what it is. My name is Carolina. I like to knit, I like to crochet. I mostly knit on one of these. This is my knitting machine, and I like to make clothing in general. In this channel, I usually like to make things and take you guys along with me to show whatever I'm making, but I think like these sit-down videos are quite interesting as well, just to put on the background and watch some clothing, maybe get inspired. So grab your craft and let's look at fashion this time. So New York Fashion Week knits and crochets part 3. Part 1 was posted all the way in September, and now we're just kind of catching up. But do let me know if you like these videos, if you think they're interesting or not so much. As we go through these brands and these products, do let me know what you think about them. If you disagree with my opinions, I'd love to know. So we are going to start with Frederick Anderson. That was humiliating. Why didn't they space it out? I don't know. But anyway, Frederick Anderson. They have crochets and knits. We are starting strong with a long cardigan, and this is crochet and knit. So to me it looks like all of this part here is like treble crochets, maybe quadruple crochets, and then there's a part right here on the side that is knit. I think it's all hand knit and hand crochet, and I think it's really pretty. I love to make something like this because I do need basics, and I do need basics that I made myself, because the things that I make, you guys know, they tend to look a little bit crazy, and then I don't wear them as much. So I need to make one of these. Maybe not floor length, but I need to make a cardigan. This, I think, is just a very beautiful choker. I've seen so many people doing like jewelry like this on TikTok, so I always like to look at it on the runway because I'm like, wow, like this is beautiful. You can, buy some jump rings, buy some chain, buy some beads, and make one of these for yourself. It's gonna take a while, but it's probably gonna be a lot less expensive than whatever they charge. Next, we have these. These are 2 pieces with the same stitch, and I think this is crochet. Now, I am not an expert in crochet or knit. I just have been doing it for a while. I've done it more than I've done crochet, but I think with either of these techniques, there's so much of it out there, and it has been done for so many years that it's kind of hard to know too much. Because every project I make or anyone makes, it will take a few days and then you finish it. I'm just saying that I don't know that many stitches. I would love to know more stitches. Maybe I should do one of those stitch sampler outfits that some people do, but I just don't know that many crochet stitches. I know the basics, and I say that because it looks to me that this is crochet, and it looks like something that it feels like it's something that everyone knows how to do but me. I'm not saying that based on anything. I'm just looking at it. And looking at it, I think it looks like a deconstructed granny square. I'm sure people know how to do it. It's just me. I don't know how to do it. If there is a name of the stitch, I don't know what it is. So I don't know what to look for. So I try to do it just looking at the picture. Okay, so this is the crochet one. I'm not really good with identifying crochet stitches. what my view of this is basically like a granny square stitch, so like 3 double crochets together, and then it kind of skews to the side, and then on the next row we're coming with like some chains here, and then no, okay, so maybe it's 4 double crochets, and then we do the next row on the first of the double crochets. And if this is like a very common stitch that I just don't know, I don't know how to look for this. I think it's nice to troubleshoot, but anyway. So I'll do 3, 4, and then I'll double crochet, double crochet, double crochet. Because then I can skip one and it will go down. Like if I just slip stitch here, it does that, like goes sideways. Let's try this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then do I do it in the same? Next one. And then slip stitch. Is it making sense? Okay, so I guess this is not it, because now I don't know, like, it makes sense, but like how do I get here? Let's pretend this doesn't exist. If I just do a bunch of chains, like 3, 4, and then, because technically I need to work my double crochets here. Slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll slip stitch on the top of the next one. I mean, it kind of looks similar, to be honest. And then I guess I can just like, I kind of think I got it, actually. Like, doesn't it look similar? I'll do a few more rows so that we can see it better, and obviously I didn't properly center it, but I think this is kind of what it is. Now I'll do like my double crochets here, slip here, double crochets here, slip here, and I'll do one more so I can go up. I think this is it. I definitely finished it wrong. I did 4 chains and slip stitch to the end of each cluster, and did like a single crochet row and a row of scallops. And that is obviously, as you can see, not really right. Theirs is not really, they don't have this gap that I have with from the chains. But I do think that I got the gist of it. I just kind of tried looking at it and tried interpreting it, and I think I did a decent job. And I think this is a very pretty little pattern. Yeah. And this is my result. So I do think it's pretty spot on. Let me know if I'm wrong. I think it's a very pretty textile. I'd have to work a little bit on like the shaping, because I started it like this and I continue it here, so it's not perfect, but I think this is very, very pretty, and I think this is very, very pretty, and I think it's something that we could make. I'm not saying we're going to, but if you want like a little basic tee, but it's not basic because it has so many stitches and it looks so nice, you could make it, and it could end up on the runway in New York. That would be fun. Also, I think this necklace is really pretty. It looks to me like it's knit. So I don't know how it's done. It could be crochet actually. It could be crochet. So maybe it's done like an amigurumi, like the ball, and they fill it in with something like maybe a large bead or something. I think it's really cool to bring textiles like this, like knits and crochets, into jewelry. I have been wanting to do that. I did some jewelry with beads. I need to do some jewelry with crochet because I think it's going to be really nice. And this is an example of what could be done. Lauren Manoogian. I like Lauren. This is a very nice brand, especially if you like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like basics, but they do explore textiles a lot in the knit and the crochet. I think a lot of their stuff is handmade. I'm pretty sure some of their stuff is machine made. I wouldn't think it's this kind of machine. I would think it's actually more industrial level. The machine things that they have, I think is more like buy the fabric, like they make the whole chunk of knitted fabric and they buy it and manufacture the garments. But some of their stuff is handmade and really pretty. So let's start with this brown grayish thing. And this is really fun. It's like a bunch of different samples. I could just like go in my wall of samples right behind you and like grab all of my samples and put them together and make like a little cardigan. I think this is such a nice concept of like, I don't see that much. We see like patchwork. We do see I'm sorry, like it's just that this one is longer than this one and this bothered me a little bit. But apart from that, I like this concept of using different kinds of techniques in the knit in the same color. Just what changes is the technique in like one piece of garment, like in a cardigan or in the skirt. I think this is really fun. I'm not a fan of the rolled edge of knits. I think it looks unfinished. When I do things, I often prefer to add a hem or something, or at least a rib. But that is like a personal opinion that I don't think is like the truth. I think it's just a personal style for me because I do see beauty in the rolling of the knit. It's part of the fabric. It's part of like making a knitted fabric. It rolls in. As much as it's not my favorite way, like it's not my favorite thing, I understand it when brands add that to the design as a stylistic choice. And it's very prevalent here in Lauren's designs. Also, horizontally in between the swatches, it has like a little bump. I thought it was rolled hems from the top sample. It doesn't seem like that's the case. It feels like there are a few like hold stitches. I did this in the last video. You basically do a few rows and then pick them up. So it creates this little bump. And it's a way of separating them. I would think that in this case it's more of like a way that they join. They join like one on top of the other and stitch it in a way that makes these bumps. But if they were making this like in a knitting machine like this, for example, which can be done. We talked a little bit about these kinds of like lacy stitches in the past video. A way to like separate them could be with these like raised stitches. So that is fun, and I think this is really interesting. And then we have these large knits. These I think are hand knit. I'm actually pretty sure. I don't see these being made in a machine. I don't see these being made in a domestic machine like mine, and I don't see them being made in like industrial level machines. So I like knits. I like when people hand knit. I don't do it that much, like ever, and I appreciate you all that do it because it is a lot of work. Like this first one, there's this change in the construction, so it's all just like stock knit, and then there's a rib here in the neckline, which is great. And then in between the front panel and the back panel, the way that it's joined is like a different little stitch. I don't know what it is, but I think it looks really interesting. It gives that little something extra to this piece. And I think this is a pretty simple piece that Even I think that maybe if I pick up, because I have this idea for this new year to maybe pick up a little bit of hand knitting, because people get me so much hate for just knitting in the machine, man. And I just feel like, yeah, maybe I should just hand knit for a little while. I feel like that this could be a very fun project back to hand knitting, because it's like a chunky yarn. It seems like it is like bigger needles, and just adding like a couple of elements of design that make it a little different. It seems fun for a first project back. It seems like a very sturdy like fiber. I don't know what it is. It seems really good, really high quality. But something that we could probably make. I don't know. And then we have, I think these are like shawls, you know, when you have the sleeves and then there's the bag, but then there's nothing else after the sleeves. I'm not a fan of this because I don't think, for me personally, my style, I wouldn't really have them. But I think they're cute. They, you know, probably hand knit, pretty, fun, interesting knitted things by hand in the fashion week, which is cool. And by the way, last video I mentioned like brands that don't do runways and have like photo shoots for them to present their collections on the fashion week, but they don't have shows because they probably don't have the budget. They're smaller brands, which I have no problem with them not making a fashion show. That's completely fine. It must be so expensive. My problem with these brands that like release on the Vogue Runway app or like on the fashion circuit but take photos is that a lot of times they make editorial photos, like conceptual photos, and I don't think this is the space for that, because I feel for the fashion week you should be just displaying your clothing, you know, front and back, just like showing what it is. And this is a good example of what I was talking about. All of the photos are just like this plain background, a photo of the model standing wearing the clothing. The clothing is styled like probably it would be if they had a runway show. Like it doesn't have to be like the flats, but yeah, like I think this is an amazing way of showing the clothing when you don't have like the access to a budget of like a runway show. That it's probably a lot. And for the next one we have bags, which are always fun. I like to see bags, like crochet bags, knit bags, because I feel like it's more approachable if we're looking at this as an inspiration, like things that we could do ourselves at home with yarn that we can buy at the store. This is, you know, we can do bags. And I think they're really pretty. My problem is a lot of times knit bags and crochet bags can just not be as functional because, you know, the fibers, they stretch out, especially if you put a lot of things in your bag. It tends to, it is a stretchy fabric by nature, so if you just keep pulling things on it, it will fray, it will give out a little bit, so it's good to always line your bags. Or in this case, I feel like this yarn used here is a lot thicker. It's like a chunky, like cord-like yarn, which it is better for bags, but still, it does seem like it's a soft fabric, like a soft yarn. So I don't know what's the durability of it. It's still really nice, and I think it's nice to look at. And then we have these, which I think is really cute, and I think something that I would probably do for myself. It could be done for sure in a machine like mine. I would think that they probably did. This seems like a brand that does a lot of manual work, like a lot of hand knit and hand crochet. So it wouldn't surprise me if they have a more domestic machine like mine and they make these in this kinds of machines, because it is like a lot of a looser knit. It also could be hand knit. This would not surprise me at all if this was hand knit, because it totally could be. And if you're a hand knitter out there, just something really fun. I love ruffles, so I think this is something that I actually could think of doing, because it's like a normal tank top with a little ruffly bottom. And I love how they styled this, because I was thinking that this was maybe 2 layers of knit. No, it's 1 layer of just like ruffles and then a shorter layer of the knitted ruffles, which I think is cute. These I think are machine made knits. So I don't know if you can notice the difference. You probably can. The way that the knits are made, usually when there's more of a pattern to it, there are specific patterns that I'm always usually like, oh, that's probably machine. Especially like when you add collars and things like that. There are manufacturers that like only do collars, only do cuffs. So these are usually just like the parts of the fabric are knitted machinery. We're done with Lauren. We like Lauren. Like, round of applause for Lauren. It's the thing that like it's not my style at all. Some of these things I think are really cool and I would look good in my closet. I think I would wear them, but it's not necessarily like I'm not really into this like minimalism, oversized. It's not a style that I gravitate towards at all. Maybe at home, but not that much even. But I see a lot of beauty in this. I think it's such a beautiful brand. Loire, I just brought this. I thought that was very interesting. It is industrially made knit. It's like a knitted fabric. A lot of knitted fabrics are industrially made. The thinner, the smaller the yarn, the thread is always going to be mechanized. Like, the machines do it really easily. I just thought this was an interesting thing, an interesting construction of garment. First when I saw it, I thought it was more like supposed to be for more conservative, like people who are more modest in their way of dressing. But then the whole back is exposed, so I don't think that's the case. I think it's just like an edgy thing, which I think is fun. It's interesting. I would like to know if there is something underneath this whole thing, or if this is a structurally made knit, which would need like a very thick fabric for it to keep this shape. So that is something that I would love to know that I don't. I'd like to speculate about. I think they have something underneath it. And then you can see on the lighter version. So this is a very pretty, it's a knit mechanized. It's just a knit, and I like to look at these patterns, even though these are machined. They're made really fast by machine. I think these patterns, these ways of construction of garments are really nice to look at. I do like to see these constructions, the way that like the knits go sideways to form like armholes, or in this case it's like this hip thing that comes in like this, and then it has the holes on top following, because you see the knit is going up and then there's this knit going sideways. I like to see this. I don't see myself being able to do this in this machine. Maybe I just didn't learn it, because obviously when you move a few needles to the side, if you just do that every so often, every few rows, you will create a knit going sideways, but it's not at this level of angle. So I think it's interesting to look at. And I love these little letters. There's something that can be easily done here, and I'm pretty sure by hand, knitting by hand. So I find this a very beautiful technique, the like leathering of the yarn. And I like it being done like this. Like the leathers on knits, I usually talk so much about them because a lot of brands like to distress knits and do like leathers, but they're actually just like ripped knits, and I don't like that. So for me, leathers, like I like them like this, very concise, they're meant to be there, they're purposefully there, they follow a pattern, and they're pretty. I like it. Melitta Baumeister, New York City. Now, prepare yourselves. I wasn't going to put this in, but then I was like, well, you probably haven't seen it, so just let's look at it. There are things that I don't like because they're not my style. I think they could have improved more, like their vision and whatever. Sometimes it's art, and it's just like, oh, it's not my style, but it's artistic, it's whatever. Like this. But then there's this, which maybe I'm wrong. I see a lot of difference in between this and this. They're both on the same space of like, I would never wear any of these. I don't see myself a place where I would wear this. They're both like sculptural headpieces done in a knit, which is a concept. I wonder what trend forecaster predicted that specifically. I just don't understand. It doesn't, maybe it's not supposed to look good. It's supposed to look funny, I guess. Because it doesn't look good. Like the other one, the Loire one, was pretty. in an interesting way, in my opinion. This is not. Matter of fact, they could have worked a little bit better in the construction of this thing here because it's all crunched up. Like, sure, if I did this, it would look crunched up. But first of all, I don't think I would ever do this. And if this is like a high fashion runway show, then do something that at least looks perfect. If you're gonna do something weird, like make it look perfect. So it's like, it's weird, but at least it's perfect, you know? I don't like this. It bothers me a lot. Lafayette 148. Now, I don't know this brand, and it's in New York. I know that there's a Lafayette gallery in Paris that I went to. By the way, I did a vlog that I traveled to Europe. I went to like London, Paris, Barcelona, Madrid. When I was in Paris, I spent like one whole morning just by myself. So I was traveling with my friend, but I went by myself to the Lafayette just to look at the insides of the knits, because I knit, but I never really see these kinds of knits that I do out and about, like in the stores that I don't usually buy that much clothing, and I don't see these kinds of knits like more handmade in stores like this. So I never know if I'm doing like a decent job with finishing my garments on the inside, like when I do intarsias and things like that. So I did go to the Lafayette just to look at the insides of the knits, and I was literally going store to store. Every knit that I looked, I went in and like I took photo of the inside of the fabric before the sales assistants, they were always like, and they looked really mean, but I still did it. For only I feel I didn't, because sometimes they were like judging me too much. What is Lafayette? Is it a person? What is it? Is it just a word? Well, this one is in New York. By the way, this brand does have the conceptual photos. Annoys me, but not as much, because you can see the clothing really well. So it's alright. They have these things. So this is not knit. It looks like knitted fabric, but it just looks like any knitted fabric that you're going to your fabric shop, or maybe that stock fabric, and you buy it, like a very thin, just like very, very mechanized, industrialized knit. And it seems like they cut it and then they sew it like this, which I think is cute. It's like a different approach to fringe, which I think is fun. This is interesting to me. There are a lot of things about it. First of all, the way that it's constructed in so many panels. You can see like there's a panel here, there's a panel here. It's not just like a sleeve, a front, a back, or like it's a lot of different pieces. Part of me thinks that this is like dead stock fabric, but it looks to me like it could be samples. Like a lot of factories, suppliers, they have sample things. Well, I don't have one here with me. I thought I had it. But they will send you like pieces of fabric. Sometimes they're very small, sometimes they are big, for like businesses and designers, smaller designers to smaller brands. And you can see their catalog of fabrics. It does feel to me like this is done entirely with samples. Could be wrong, could be very wrong. It's just like what I got off of like the fact that it's cut in so many different pieces. It's fully patchworked, and it doesn't really have a reason to be. Like the construction is a very basic sweater, so it doesn't need to have all of this separate panels for it, because the color is all the same. It even goes in the same direction. Like the knits are not really changing direction that much. It just seems like they had the fabric like this, so they had to patchwork it together. Could be just a stylistic choice. Undone, there are these little things, which these I do think are either samples. Yeah, they could have cut a bunch of squares and just stitched it here. And I think I like the look of this. So there are a few ways of creating this look in the knitting machine without even needing to do separate little pieces of fabric. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this one bothers me a little bit because it does. This effect I love, actually, but the way that it is here, it's kind of strange. I have this sample with a similar effect. And this is done with short rows. I think it's on here. So I do think, oh my god, I do think the effect is pretty similar. Although these ones, it does seem like they use the wrong side of the fabric. And these are all cast off, so they're not looping like these ones. They do the loop because they're all continuous. I don't stop. It just seems like they have a bunch of like very little knitted samples and they attached it to the knit, and it's not even like, see, there's a seam here, but this thing goes beyond the seam, so it's just a little strange. There are a few different approaches to this. Let me cast it on just a second. For the one that I just showed you, basically is with the hold, and then I have to take the yarn somewhere, like take the yarn to where I want to start the thingy, and I just go here, put these back, and then these are going to be the thingy, okay? So I just have to do a few rows here. And then pick them up. Okay, it is definitely not straight, and we ignore that. So, and I'll do another one here. Go back, ooh, and knit these to finish the row. You'll see it when I take it off the machine, but the thing is here, and I have the other one here, made one smaller than the other. But this would be a way to get a similar effect, and it's more straightforward in the machine, and it's on the knit side. The other options are mostly on the purl side. Okay, so one option is to kind of do it like the original. I did a couple of just like mini, small little knit samples with the same yarn. The side, obviously, as you see, it curves outwards, and the side that curves outwards is the like purl side, like this. So I just attached them here. So this is a way of doing it, and as you saw, it was kind of fast here right now, but I did have to cast on the machine, knit this few rows, cast it off, which takes a little while, and then weave in all of the ends. So I'd have to do it for a few samples to make it like this, and these are a lot bigger with like a smaller, thinner yarn, thinner machine. To do it like this would take a while to just make these little samples, but adding it to the main fabric, it's relatively easy. Another way of doing it, I would think, is to basically do what I did here, but casting it off every time. So with the hold button, knit those few rows. Let's just say we need 10. 1, 2, 10. And then cast, okay, 10 is little. 11, 13, 15. And then cast these off. And then take it off. And now we have kind of two options. So it's either pulling it to the front, to the back. It's either pulling it to the back, because we're working on the back, and then kind of picking it up. The yarn is not connected anymore because we had to cast it off. We do need to continue the row, so we're going from here. I'll just finish the row. And what we could do as well is the same thing. Just like this, and I cast it off. And instead of pulling it to the front, I would pull it to the back. So it's either purl side with knit thingy or knit side with purl thingy, which we'll see in a second, and would look closer to the original because it will curve in like this. And then I would have to come in, weave this in, there's another one, weave this in. So in between these and these, I think I would rather do these, because you can either put it on the front or on the back. Obviously, to put it on the knit side, it would be more challenging, just annoying. But you could do that, and you can just make them weave in and then just add them here, because once it is more annoying to just like knit them in a short roll and then cast it off in the machine and then continue, because you have a lot of different pieces. So if I was to do something that looks like this, I would definitely go for these ones, which would be fun. And yeah, so this is like something that I did ages ago, but this is a way of doing it in a knitting machine, or probably hand knitting, where you could just use the same yarn. Like, I didn't need to cut yarns at all here. Then we have the sample that we did to explore this. So the first one is these two, which is this one, just smaller. It's a very different, because this is like a loop and this one is just one fabric. And then we did, so these two are the ones that I added in the same way that I think that they would. They probably sew it separately, because the way that they go through seams and things like that, they probably just edit afterwards. But this is a way that it could be thought about in the machine. I think it's a cool like textile, this. Like, kind of cool. I think it's cool. I don't think I would do something like this for myself, but I think it's cool. Michael Kors, kind of boring as well this season. Last year, Michael Kors had a bunch of dresses, a few chunky knits like shorts and cardigan combos, which I thought were really cute. This year we don't have that much. We have one very smart looking sweater with a just like a rounded neckline. Nothing too special. Nearly Loton. These are cool. I think these are just like pre-bought fabric that have this like lacy, textile-y, crochet-y vibe to it, but it's clearly like machine, and it's probably something that you could find in a store. But I think it looks nice, and it does look like something that you could crochet. So I feel like it's kind of an inspiration. I don't know, but I think it's interesting. Staud. I don't know how to say it, but kind of boring this season. Last season we had like a lot of crochet, and someone did tell me that they do have like a group of artisans that like are well compensated and things like that. I'm not sure. There are some knits that look like crochet and are easily mechanized, but most crochet is handmade, especially things like flowers, like things that look more like patchwork, like things that are elements in a garment. These are usually handmade, which was the case last year with Staud, but not the case this year. This year they have just a few things. They have these basics, which I think are nice. I have been saying I need some basics. I need to inspire myself to make basics. But yeah, it's like a little dress, like spaghetti strap dress. Here they have a few rows on the purl, a few rows on the rib, and the rest is just like stock knit. And I don't know if they're wearing, I think she's wearing two dresses, one on top of the other. But it could be the case that that's not the case. It could be that it's just like they have an extra little trim on the top and on the bottom to make it seem like it's layered, but it's not. It's just one dress, which I think is interesting. And not my favorite color combo, but it works. And something like this happened on the Tommy Hilfiger collection. We just saw it on the last video. They had a few items that they had this like juxtaposition where it looked like it was two pieces together, and I just kept thinking to myself, is this two pieces styled to like as a layering piece, or is it one piece that looks like it's two pieces layered and then they're just made as one? So I don't really know. This does have two straps, so I would think that if I was to make something that is supposed to look layered, I don't know, I think I would do one strap only on the orange, just because I don't know. But this one has two straps. I don't know. And then we have a slouchy sweater. I like some slouchy sweaters that are nice and pretty, and they're done in like a looser tension, so you can see a little bit of the body through the weave of the knits. And then we have this bag that is nice, like a little raffia bag, like maybe a straw bag. It's probably handmade, if we're being honest. I don't think this is something that you just buy a fabric like this. Could be wrong, but I think this is handmade. And then underneath that pretty bag, we can barely see it, but there's like a nice little skirt. And it is on flowers. And this is what they had last year. They had a couple of pieces with these, but colorful. And now they have this in white. So I do think they might have a few artisans in their team that are crocheters. They might even like outsource it, just the flowers, and then put them together. I think it's pretty. I hope that the workers that do this are well compensated. I think they're nice. They are very... We can't see it because the bag is on top, but here on top it seems like some of the flowers are on top of each other. I don't like that much, because why do that? Just leave them side by side. It's very beach-like, sorry for the beach. But I like the normal tank top, which is like this nice, fun crochet skirt, and we can totally make something like it. Rachel Comey. I like Rachel Comey. I discovered them last year as well while I was looking at the New York Fashion Week shows, and they have some interesting textiles. They have these fringe, and I have a thing with this fringe. To me, it seems like knit. I do think that this kind of stuff is done in one of these. Something about this screams more artisanal, less manufacturer. I made this skirt like 2 years ago, and it gives me the same exact vibe. And the thing with it is that it's actually a little bit of a fail. I have a video making it. I made it to go to a festival. And the thing is, this was supposed to be a fringe skirt, but this was like straight. All of these were supposed to be straight, like pin straight, because they were just the yarn in here, like put on the fabric. And this is also like the purl side, like the wrong side of the fabric, because this is what doing fringe in the knitting machine is like. You're looking at the purl side, so everything that you're adding and you're looking at it, it's always going to be on the purl side. And the thing is, I wore it to the festival and then I washed it, and it became a tangled mess. It was so tangly, awful. And then I kind of brushed it all out and kind of straightened it a little bit, but it's still very like curly. It became a curly girly, okay? And it wasn't the intention. Some people loved it more like this, like the shaggy look. And I would love to know, because it gives me this exact same vibe, just maybe there's just a little fuller than mine. I would love to know if this was intentional, or if they did the straight yarns, the fringe straight like it usually is, but then they thought to themselves, well, people are gonna wash it if we sell it, and then it's not going to look like the original, so they already like pre-washed or like pre-treated all of the fringes before the runway, and then the concept became like shaggy. Because I would do that. I think it's interesting, not for everyone. I made this one, and after it became shaggy, I've never worn it again. I only used it when it was the one time that it was straight before I ruined it. I never gravitate towards it. I don't really go to places where it makes that much sense. But still, I don't know. It's not a look for everyone, I guess. And then these, which they are intarsia, and I do think that they're made in a machine like mine, not necessarily mine, but like mine. And I don't like it, which makes me sad because I love intarsia. Intarsia is like one of my favorite things in that I can do here. I love drawing in knits, and I love like using multiple colors. And I think this is interesting. I think the idea is there. It's just that for me, me looking at it, I don't love it. Which is like the drawing is fine. I don't care. What bothers me is they chose to use like a thicker yarn as a different yarn. So there are, let's say we have the black, the yellow, the lilac, and the gray. And the fifth color is this thick yellow in the same shade, just thicker. And it does create an intriguing thing. It does create a different texture. Instead of it being only yellow or it being a different color, they chose to make it texturally different. So it is a different combination of yarns. If I was to do this in this machine, I would treat it as a different color, but it's the same color, just thicker, which is a concept. It creates these like texture things. I just don't think it looks good, in my opinion, the way that they positioned it only around the other colors. It looks like it's a mistake for me. It looks like something went wrong whenever they were doing the intarsia, the colors. So the tension fucked up and it created these like different elements here. And then it didn't anymore. Like for me, it looks like a mistake. I look at it and I think it was purposeful, but it doesn't look good. And it's done here as well, but it's in the black so you can see it less. But yeah, I don't love it, which is sad because I like the vibe, I like the colors, I like the like geometric. I never really do geometric, but I think it's really interesting, really fun. I don't like this concept, but maybe it's just me. Let me know. FFA design technology. We're going to go through these really quick, but they're fun. I like looking at fashion student stuff because it's always a little crazy. It's always like, oh, I've been there. And it's like, oh, like you have the concept and you can have fun with it. And sometimes it's like really weird and like, what the fuck? But it's interesting nonetheless. So we have these, which are interesting by this person. Yeah, like a few like macrame. This is like knitting machine. This is knitting machine. This is an interesting like textile. I think it's probably a knitting machine as well. No, it's probably crochet and then knitting machine. I'm sure they have some amazing machines. So these knits, they look like a more advanced version of this. So there are levels to knitting machines, right? Before you get to like the industrial. And I feel like it's something that it's a little bit more, just like less domestic than mine, which is cool. And then these, is it the same? No. These I think are really fun. I got pretty much all the collection of this person, Patrick Ty. Learn. Really fun. I think this is Intarsia, which I always love. These pens, I thought they were really cool. And it made me want to do some. I don't know if it's because it's orange and I love orange, or it's the shape, the like very cartoonish flair to it with like this gigantic like hem. I think it's really cool. And I don't think it would take me too long to make it. I just have to buy a lot of yarn, like in a machine. But I don't think I would wear it. Maybe I would wear it at home. It's just that it's never really that cold here. I would wear it for like 2 weeks and then never again. Which, if that would be the case, if I actually wore it for 2 weeks, that would be more than a lot of things that I make for myself. So maybe not that bad, but I don't know. I really like this pants. With this one as well, I think it's like that advanced, that like knitting machine that is advanced, like more advanced than this one, which creates like just more like prettier fabric, like just like they look they look just like very incorporated, like very thick. I think I have one person that I follow on Instagram that I think works with this machine. I think it's really good. And then these, which I guess it's a concept. I'm sure it makes sense with their collection. What bothers me is that, like, I think it's really pretty. I love the colors that they chose. I think this is a very pretty fabric. The keyboard things, they're not even attached to the knit. Like, it's not like when I get a bead and attach it, like put it on the knit and it's part of the knitted fabric. I don't know. I have never taken apart a computer, so I don't know like what's in the inside of keyboard things. But regardless, they are added like in places, like here all over the hem, and just like in a way that you can tell that it's not like put in the fabric. I'm pretty sure. So they just came in after and either like embroidered or like glued them or stitched them to this top. And I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure it goes with the concept that they created for their collection. And it's probably amazing when they talk about it to pitch their idea. But it bothers me because I think this would be so pretty without the keyboard thingies. Because I feel like they could easily sell it to anyone. I think it's such a classic thing. Like anyone who has a little bit of money and likes to buy things, clothing, would want something like this. I think it's really pretty. The colors go so well together. They do have such amazing yarns. And then this, I actually think it's really, really, really cool. The way that they did the braids, but with a different cord. And it almost looks like nautical cord, which kind of goes hand in hand. I think like, I don't know, I think about cable knit sweaters. I do think of like sailor. I don't know why. And I think this is such a cool concept of like getting just like chunky cord and making the braids instead of like making the braids with the knits. It's a different way of approaching this look. It does give like the very similar look to a cable knit sweater, but very different at the same time. And I think this is really, really cool. I don't think I have the name of the person. I'll try and find it. Sometimes it was really hard because they were all together as the university, so I didn't really see which. So it was kind of really hard to find which person did each project. So I will try to find this person, but I don't know if I can because I already tried to find everyone. I already tried to find everyone. And this is weird. I don't like it. Because I simply don't. I don't know if they made all of it and then style it in this way. I don't know if they thrifted all of the clothing and made it. I'm sure there's a concept. I'm sure this fits the concept. And if I heard it, it would make sense. I just don't like it. And the thing is, we've been seeing these like patchworks of different garments put into one. I have an example right here. This is by Ralph Lauren this year, not this year, 2024 September, for spring summer. And this is a bunch of different sweaters, or at least it's made to look like a bunch of different pieces put together in this patchwork style. Like there's a doily here, there's a doily here. These are different. This is one sweater, this is a different sweater, this is a different one, this is a different one. So it is all different. Like the colors are mismatched by just a little bit, all of them, but it works. Now I know that this is like a big brand that has all the resources to make like fake patchwork things. They don't have to thrift and find things to go together, but it is the similar concept, even though I don't know either of the concept of either collections. Like this, it goes together in a way. It's like this joining different sweaters to make one different thing. But yeah, this just doesn't make sense to me. And as I said, the concept might make sense. It probably does. It's just looking at it, I don't see it making sense. And this is the person, the student. Zankov. So we have knits, and these are strange to me. They look fun. They look amazing. These are like spikes. I think I did spikes a few videos ago. I'm not gonna do spikes now. Spikes can be done by machine, and I don't think it's hard. It is complicated to make them in this machine. But spikes are nice. These are spikes, and these are like machine industrial. But then the beads are what throw me off. I can very easily add beads to this machine, and it's so manual. Whenever there are beads, I get like confusion because for me, beads are always hand attached to the fabric. I just I don't I don't know. I need to see a machine adding beads because I don't think it really happens. I think beads are usually always just handmade, hand attached to fabric. Even if the fabric is not handmade, the beads are usually added by hand. And these are so big and seem to be like fragile that I don't see a machine adding them, but I don't know because the fabric itself looks really industrial. The beads are like not. So I think it's weird. We can try something. Let's try it. Okay, guys, so for this one, what is interesting to me is the beads. When we're working with a machine like this, I have this sample that I did ages ago, which is pretty much the same thing, like pretty much the same bead. It's just a coincidence. And this is how it looks. So it's just like adding any bead, but these are like these kind of sequin looking big old beads. To add them, basically you need a very, very tiny crochet hook. Mine is 0.5, 0.25. Actually, this is a 1, but it usually needs to be a little bit smaller. It just depends on the bead that you have. I don't have any more of these beads because I got them not here. But I have these like circular thingies. So I'm just gonna use them and like to show you guys. So basically you just put the hook through the bead, so the hook has to be big enough to fit the bead, and you basically just get a stitch, insert the bead, and put it back like this, and then you knit and it will stay here. So when you're using very tiny beads, not like this, not like these, just like the normal like glass beads, you can usually make them like this and then pull them to the other side if you want to use like the right side of the knit. For these bigger beads, you put them here and they stay here, and this is the wrong side of the fabric. Working in a machine like this, you're always looking at the wrong side, so this will be the technical right side, and if you look here, this is the right side of the knit. And obviously, like this machine, I don't know how it's done, but if you would like to do something like this for this, it would be just harder because you have to work on the other side. And I think you just have to come from the back. Now these also have like those designs, like lacy designs. So I will start a design, and then when I get to the middle of it, I will try and add the bead on the back. I will just get this. Maybe try to like move it forward. And like this is here and it's like this. You're looking at the back side of the bead. And then I'm coming from the back here. And basically doing what I did previously, but in a harder way. And this is actually really hard. Oh, I don't know what to do. Fell. Okay, I could do it like this from the top. Okay, this is a lot easier. Ooh, that was dumb. Oh my gosh. Got it, and I have to put it in through here and back. Now, my beads are a lot smaller than these, so I couldn't do it like I did it in the actual, if I was to actually do this in this way with the right side of the knit, which I wouldn't because it's so complicated. But we'd have to come from the bottom as I was doing, because we couldn't put the other one through the top. So let's try go from the bottom. And then I got it. And it stays here, so it's now entrapped in the knit. So I will have to see when I take it out of the machine, but I think it works. It's just too much of a trouble to keep the purity of the knit side against the purl side. If this was a more artisanal piece, because that is mechanized, I don't think it would be a problem at all to just use the purl side, the wrong side of the knit. I do love the knit side, but yeah. I'll finish this and I'll take it off and we'll see the difference. See, like, I have pretty much the same beads that they have, and they're so, like, they're a piece of, like, a hard plastic, so I don't see them being put through a machine. It's just like one little hole. It seems so fragile for that. So for me trying to copy their design, I do think I'm pretty spot on. I do think mine is a little bit bigger, just like my yarn is thicker, my tension is thicker. This would be like the right side, so kind of like theirs. And with this thin charm, it was easy, as you guys saw. But to use a thicker, just a bigger charm here, it would be a little harder to put it on the front of the machine if I was to use a domestic machine to do this. And then for this one, it's easy because it's on the back side, but it looks different than theirs because theirs is on the right side and mine is on the wrong side. But I think this is cute. I like this one better. It's like in the front, on the front. I'd be worried about washing it. How does one wash this? I don't know, but it's fun. This is interesting. So this is a knit, it's like chunkier knit with like a fluffy yarn. Cool, fun, yay. This, I think it's cool. I don't like it. I think it's not pretty because it just makes a harder, it's interesting, something different to the garment, which is cool. I think it's nice that people express themselves to fashion, do something extra to their outfit to be like just a little extra, their personality, whatever it is, which fun. But in this case, this brand is selling like this shirt, which could be just like a normal shirt, but it's not normal. It has these things, which this I think is okay. It's interesting. It's different, but whatever. It's something. It's like a little embroidery in a, like, reminds me of chest or something. But then they leave in the huge fringe, which to each their own. It's okay to like fringe. It's okay to like very long fringe. It's really annoying to wash it. Even if this is, because this is really harsh because it's cotton and this would happen. No, doesn't matter. It would happen. There are other fibers that I could have done this with that would tangle less, that it would be less problematic to use in a tassel, in a fringe. But still, it doesn't matter. If you have like a cluster of threads of yarn just like hanging loose, they will tangle. So you can just like throw this in the washing machine. You have to like hand wash it. And I understand it, like I'm fully for, you know, we need to take care of our garments. We need to hand wash everything. I mean, not everything. We should, I guess, hand wash everything and let them out to dry on the shade, and it would be a perfect world, but we don't live in this world. We live in a world with a washing machine and convenience. So I don't know, I guess I just think like if you're going to buy a difficult garment that has like all of this, it is hard to wash, so you either have to send it to the dry cleaners or you have to like take all this time of your days or weekend, whatever, to wash your clothing. This is probably not going to be it. It's going to be something different from a different brand. Maybe just, and that's not me being mean to this brand. I'm sure it's an amazing brand and I hope they have good quality in their stuff. It's just that it is really hard for people in general to be willing to like take these steps out of their way to take care of a garment, to have the money to spend in these expensive garments, and then having the time or money to spend to take care of those garments. Very few people can do that. So to get to a level where these people find you and your market finds you, these people who are very rich and can do these kinds of things, takes some time. And I just feel like maybe this brand is not there. And if that's the case, maybe I wouldn't do like a gigantic fringe in this like little DIY moment, because it's hard to watch. I don't know. I don't like, I did this a lot in the last video. I talked about this brand that I actually like, but there were so many things that I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this, which makes me sound so mean, because these brands are interesting. Like, it's nice that they're doing something different. But at the same time, I'm like, it's still a little, you know, like just, and I don't know what to do with it. Like, if you're going to embroider a shirt, like, why are you going to just like a gigantic patch of squares? And I also bring this here because like it is a way to spice up something that you have. If you have a little shirt that you haven't worn it in 5 years and it fits you, you just don't want to wear it, maybe get an embroidery thread and a nice needle, sit down and do a little design on it. Something that you like. Maybe you're very into squares and that would be the case, but maybe you could just do like a flower or an animal that you like. So yeah, it's nice to think about as well. And then they have these like, first of all, they have this skirt with the leathers, which I love. I think it's very pretty. As I said, I like a controlled leather, a controlled little, I think it's cute. And then these zebra patterns, which I think are interesting. They're fun. And then the spikes. As I said, I think spikes are interesting. We're going to talk about spikes in another brand that it's coming soon. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but this is like a three-dimensionality that you can do in knits. Just like you can do it in this machine, you can do it by hand. I'm sure that machines, like big industrial machines, can do it, because it's basically you stop knitting a few rows, you just knit on a few rows, and then you like you knit a few rows, and then you just knit less and less and less rows until you get to the top, and it creates a spike, and then you go back. I know you understood that. But I think spikes are interesting. Like every sort of like three-dimensional element to knits, I think are interesting. It's nice textile, you know. I have beef with this brand, and I don't even know the name of this brand, because you look at it and it's called Rio, and I'm pretty sure it was called Rio in the Vogue runway app. I remember it took me so long to find the logo and like the name of this brand, and I did this ages. I did this PowerPoints back in September, October, when they were coming out. And I don't know this brand. I think it's Gypsy or something, and that's why they go by Rio, because it's like offensive. It's something along those lines. I forgot. But like the one thing that I'm no expert in anything, literally. Not at all. But I think it's common sense that if you are going to make a brand, you have to make it distinguishable by itself. Don't call your brand Rio. There is a very, very, very famous CD with this name. And then there's a very famous film, like Pixar film with this name about the city. Okay? So you search Rio, which is not, like, I look at this logo and I think Rio. And you're never going to find this brand, never in a million years. Also, if you write Rio clothing, there is a Brazilian brand that's called Farm Rio. And they just go by Farm Rio outside of Brazil. So if you type Rio clothing, that brand is probably going to appear because it's very popular in Brazil and like a little bit outside. So like research, like market research, type in whatever you want to call your brand on Google and see if something else appears. If there's lots of things appearing, don't give that name to your brand. It was so hard for me to find this brand, like to find them on Instagram or like to find their logo. It was really hard, and I forgot because I did it so long ago. I forgot their name. It's not Rio. It's like this is their logo, but I think this is a project within a brand, and I think the brand's called Gypsy. Could be wrong. I do not know, and it bothered me so much. I was like, how are you only on the Vogue Runway app and nowhere else? I can't find you nowhere else, but just by typing, I cannot find it. Okay. Some doilies. Did someone just like some grandma just like gave all of her doilies away in a Goodwill in like a charity shop that near where everyone is? Well, I know that I just had a little freak out, but I think this is cute actually. It's a nice little lace thing. I don't actually like it. I just think it's okay. Like, yeah, sure, like if you're going to spice up your outfit and you have a skirt and you think it's going to look nice with more texture, add a little doily, add a little lace trim to it. That's fun. But maybe you can do it yourself. You don't need the brand to do it for you. But it's pretty because lace and doilies and crochet lace is pretty. So it does give a nymph to the outfit. Pretty. It looks like crochet. It looks like a doily. It does look like they just like found a lot of doilies. Maybe they made this. But like, why is everyone using doilies? This is cute. Now this I like better because it at least look. I mean, sure, the white one looks fine, but this one is like a different color and it's a very specific color and they go together. I think 'cause this is part 2. I'm filming these back to back, but I just finished the part 2 of the New York Fashion Week, and I finished it with like a very ugly t-shirt with a doily on top, and that I hated. This is kind of a very similar thing, but it works a little better because the doily and the sweatshirt, they are like pretty much the same color. They styled it with like this collar, this necklace, like the shirt going out on top, breaking the like monochrome vibe of this outfit just a little bit. It's okay. It's good. It's just whatever. It's just like, it doesn't intrigue me. It doesn't bring me the wow. I think it's interesting, this like whole concept of like sports jerseys being brought to fashion. I don't know if sports people like it that much, but I think it's interesting, like a sports jersey like made with like this lacy, holy fabric. I think it's interesting. That's not really textiles. They did add one of the doilies here as a layering element. So I think it looks cool. I think this is really fun. I think this is good for me as someone who's bad at styling to look at and just learn, because I'm bad at styling. I think this is like a styling thing. It's like adding a bunch of layers that complement each other. because that's what the brand did. But I don't know if this is a styling or you can just buy this whole thing. It's like one thing or like a bunch of different things. I think it's interesting. I like ruffly things as well. It's not for everyone, I don't think. Yeah, so here's the close-ups for you all. So yeah, this is just like a fluffy yarn, fuzzy yarn, little cropped sweater, cute. This, I think, is a little bit more interesting to have for, yeah. This is more interesting because of the hem. Now, as a rule that a lot of people break, which is okay, we don't cut knits. Because traditionally they are like one yarn, just go back and forth, creating the fabric. So if you cut it, it will fully come undone. That's, with your chunkier stuff, if you hand make something, if you make it in a machine like mine, this is a fairly open, like big knit for a machine. Obviously, if you're doing this by hand, this is very small. So you usually don't cut knits, which means that this zigzag thing here on the bottom, it's quite intriguing because they would have to design this like short rows and like increases and decreases into the fabric, and it's also like the first few rows, unless they made it upside down, which I don't think they did. They started making this with the cuts. I don't know if this is like mechanized, like big machine, or if this like something that could be made in here. But I think it's interesting. Whenever there's like a funky shape to a knit, I think it's interesting because theoretically you don't even have to hem. If you just create the shape with the knit, like start in one of these and then just do them all and then join them together. I don't know, but you especially like depending on the yarn that you use, you probably don't even have to hem it or like do anything that it would be done like that, which is cool. Because if you're making something with fabric that has all of these like shapes, you'd have to like either line it and then it'd be really, you have to have like an amazing sewing job to make curves like that and then line it and like cut the insides and make it so that it actually looks good, or like bias tape, or like at least like overlock the raw edges. That's with sewing, or like a knitted fabric that you buy pre-made. But with things like this, I think that a fabric like this you wouldn't cut. Maybe they just cut it and finish the edges, but I don't know. I like to think that they made the fabric like this because I like to think. Next brand, Bite. It's an interesting name. So basic little knitted vest / tank top. Good, fun. I was very intrigued by this pattern. I think it's mechanized, but like, can I do it? I was trying to look at it because, like, for example, some of the other stuff that we did, like this, it was very obvious that it was mechanized, but I was also very obvious how I could interpret it in my machine. Like, how could I do it in my machine? This is how. Like, it was very clear for me to think, I can see this here, I can see that it is mechanized, but I can do it in my machine, and it works. This one confuses me. I don't fully understand it. I really don't. I tried to do it, like I tried to copy this pattern on this machine. Okay, so for this one, I am actually very confused. I don't know, maybe this is hand knit. I don't know, for the way that the stitches look. Part of me believes it could be hand knit, but I'm really bad with hand knitting, so you guys tell me. But this is so confusing to me. Like, the way that there's a couple stitches here, and then there's this, and then they go sideways, and then there's this like zigzagging, like almost like chain looking thing. I don't know if it's added later, probably not. It's just the way that it's made, and I cannot figure it out. I really can't. I tried to do something, and we'll see how it looks once I'm done. And what I did is basically bring 3 stitches. So these are always here. So I just brought like 3 stitches to the side But then I have to bring these here as well, so they already overlap. Because they're quite close together. And leave these back. Here I gave a little bit, like one extra stitch of space, but I don't think that actually makes difference. Because like these things, they are sideways and these are almost up. So it looks like they're going a lot sideways. Maybe there's like an element of short rows. I thought that possibly there's like an element of short rows here, and I just don't know. I did it all with 3 in this one. I'll try and do 2 in this one, see if it makes any difference. And then 1. And now the way back is complicated because I don't want these to happen, and they happen because I brought them one by one. But like this is just wrong, this is not what it is. So like I'll just bring them one by one because I can. Okay, so it looks like a little butterfly or like a croissant. Croissant, look at croissant. Well, it's not it. I started them together and they're supposed to be mismatched. This is so funny. And I don't know, maybe it's short rows. So like here it's like you do like 1 row and then you bring this one forward. Okay, I'll try that. That's so confusing. And then knit. Let's do 4. And then I take this one out. 3, 2, and 1. And I bring them all, but it doesn't create like the thing. Something like this, but I don't, See, like, I lost a stitch. Oh no. Okay, I don't think this is gonna work, so I'm not gonna continue it because I don't even understand it fully. Well, actually, can you see that because the one string here, it is more horizontal, more vertical, like this one, but I just am not understanding it. I really am not. I feel like I'd have to try and draw it to see if I can understand it, but right now I just fully don't comprehend it. Like, this is an interpretation, but it's a very bad one because some of the times during these 2 videos that I interpreted something that doesn't look exactly like what I was trying to do, it's because of like my tools in comparison to the professional tools. They're just different. In this one, even though I do think it could be hand knit, I do think that there's a way of getting this look in this machine. I just don't know it. I don't understand it. So this is what is frustrating me. Is the like, it's not, this one I think I could do very similar thing and I just don't understand. So yeah, as we could see, it didn't work out. Like, it didn't work out at all. This is something. It's not ugly. I like the top ones, but it's not this. And I don't know what this is. Maybe this makes me think that this is more of a hand knitted pattern because I can't figure it out. But maybe I don't know everything, right? I don't know everything about machines. So maybe it's just me. I just need to see someone do something similar to understand it. The way that they cross, it's really bugging my head. I don't understand this pattern. Let me know if you do, if you know how to do it by hand or how the machine does it. I don't know. But it's cool. I think it looks really nice. And this is the end. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed looking at some high fashion, probably expensive knitwear, if it inspired you to do something similar or not at all. I would have posted 2 of these videos kind of very close together, so do let me know if you like them, if you're not interested really, if you like, maybe it's like good background noise for you to crochet or knit to, or maybe not. Do feel free to comment. Always, like, I really want to improve this year with this channel. I want to do some new things. This is not necessarily new, but it's something that I could do a little bit faster than creating a whole different thing, being a garment or whatever, a whole project where I make it. Obviously, in the past video, I did do the pants. They did take me a longer time, but it's just something that I've been wanting to do. I do like to get a concept and do a video based on a concept of like doing something, creating a knit or a crochet. And those take a little bit more time, and these are a little bit more faster to do. But obviously, if people are not interested in them, I might not continue doing them. I do have PowerPoints for London, Milan, and Paris, and there are some fun stuff. In London has some good knits. Paris has some good knits, not that much. Milan also. I think London's like the best for knits. So let me know if you're interested, if you like these videos. What was your favorite look? What was your worst? Did you agree or disagree with me at any point of the video? Let me know. This is it. This is not the only kind of video that I do. If you made it all the way here, I hope you enjoyed it. But I do like to create things, like show my process into making something, making a dress, making a shirt, making something for some reason, DIYing, let's say. I hope you stay for that as well if you enjoyed this. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one, which will probably be another DIY, not one of these. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye bye.